Welcome to YOUCANIC. In this video we're going to show you how to replace the Serpentine belt on a Mercedes. This is a very common procedure for Mercedes V6, V8 and V12 engines. A lot of times you might have less space here, so it'll be a little bit more difficult, but it's still done the same way. What you'll need is a 17mm socket, and a deep socket will be better, but and give you a little bit of room. But if your radiator is right here, right next to the engine, then you're going to need a shallow one. The other thing to point out, even though most of Mercedes have these 7mm, it's part of the tensioner, but and it uses a socket, but it's not a bolt or anything. But anyway, they have that there. You might see some older models where you might have a stud here, and you'll use that. It comes out, you can put a socket there to lift this up and take off the belt. Again, you could potentially do it by putting a Torx, on this case as well, a Torx bit there. It looks like a T25, but the problem is that this does require quite a bit of force, so if you use that, you might just strip that, or the other thing that could happen is this bolt will probably just get loose. So the right way to do it, 17mm socket right there, and then we're gonna go counterclockwise, so this is gonna come off, and then slide the belt off. And then it's important to take a picture just to see how this belt is routed, because what happens a lot of times, you take this off and then you go to put it back on, and then you're like, oh, how does that belt route? Or simply just draw a quick schematic on a piece of paper. One other thing to note out, there's a hole right here, so you could use a Allen wrench to just insert right there. Once you lift this up, you can insert an Allen wrench right there to keep the tensioner in the up position. It's not necessary, it just makes it a little bit easier when you install it, but you can just take off the belt and let the tensioner go back down. So we're gonna put the wrench, and it does help using a longer wrench, or you might just use a cheater pipe, like a pipe, an extension here. But so you push that down really hard, and then you take the belt, and then you lower the tensioner by letting the wrench come up slowly. It didn't come out completely, but we're not going to lock this tensioner in the up position, we're just going to let it go down, and that is fine. And then you'll just remove this. One thing to point out is that if you were installing a new one, you might notice that it's not going in, like even though when you move this up and you try to push it in, it just doesn't reach. It's because this belt, it might just sit on pulley, for example, it might not just sit properly, it might just be off a little bit, like so. And so what that does, it just gives it less room here. So make sure to check if you can slide it over when you lift up the tensioner, then you probably have the belt off in one of the pulleys. Okay, this comes off, and then you install the new one just in reverse order. Reroute it, come back here, lift that tensioner and slide that over, and that's it. Thanks for watching.